What is going on, everyone? We are back with another quick video. Sorry I couldn't do two videos last night. My computer was being very difficult, but I think we got it under control now, so we're chilling. So I'm going to do a quick video about the Sixers right here. I know I went into detail a couple of videos ago about what big stars I'd want the Sixers to sign. However, if I was being honest, I think Paul George is most likely the most realistic target that we're going to get because there's been a lot of speculation about him already leaving the Clippers, especially after they flamed out in the playoffs. So, I mean, and we've been linked to Paul George multiple times already. So, if we're going to go for a big star, it's going to be Paul George. I know there are a lot of people out there that are anti Paul George and like don't want to bring Paul George here. And I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't. I think there are better options than bringing Paul George here. But if I'm being realistic, most likely that's the move that we're gonna make off season. And I'm here to tell you why it might not be that bad. So let's jump right into it. So let's shout out to Basketball Reference as always. Fantastic website to pull up some nice stats. So fire. Um, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but there we go. Now we got it working. Um, so if you look at Paul George's stats here, let's look at his stats from last season. He was an all-star, 22.6 points a game, very good efficiency all around, especially from three-point land, because most likely you'll be getting him where Tobias Harris has been playing. So if you look at these numbers compared to this ball on 35% from three and 48% from the field, that is leagues better. And keep in mind, Paul George is also a solid defender, as he is hold on, let me find this. Oh, here it is. He's a nine-time All-Star. Tobias Harris has never been an All-Star. Six-time All-NBA, four-time All-Defensive Team. So this guy knows how to play some defense. This guy knows how to play some D. He's a steals champ back in 2018, 2019. Like this guy knows how to play defense and he is a bucket. Couldn't say either of those things about Tobias Harris. 17.2, that's a little generous for Tobias Harris because we know at the beginning of the season he was cooking, he was in his bag, but then snap your fingers, Joel Embiid goes out, and this guy is unplayable for the rest of the season. So yeah, definitely an upgrade over Tobias Harris. If Paul George played like this all the time, I think everyone would be excited about Paul George. However, the real question marks about Paul George start in the playoffs. You look at his numbers from the regular season to the playoffs, numbers drop off quite a bit. 19.5 points per game in the postseason, 41% from the field. That's not good, but shot 36% from three. So not great compared to the regular season. But if we look at that compared to the guy he would be replacing, this bum averaged 9 points a game, shot 48% from the field, or wait, no, 43, sorry. It's being a little generous. 43% from the field and 33% from three, and he averaged 9 points. Like, what a bum Tobias Harris is. Let's be honest here. This guy is just straight up terrible. And I know Paul George didn't have the greatest post. He had a very inconsistent postseason. But if you look in the past, last season he wasn't too bad in the postseason. Keep in mind, Kawhi Leonard has been hurt both of these postseasons. The last time he was in the postseason, this was the time he took the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. He was a big Kawhi went down halfway through that Utah Jazz series. And everyone's like, oh, the Clippers are down and out of this. But here comes Paul George from the dead and brings them back, and they win that series 3-2. So shout out to Paul George. He's not the best playoff performer in the world, but he can definitely put up good games. And Tobias Harris just can't do anything in the playoffs. This guy's a straight up bomb. So now I'm going to go to an interesting route with this. So we lost to the Knicks. We know this. But if you look at all of these games, if you look at them all, they're all extremely close. So like if a couple more things go the Sixers' way, we could be talking about the Sixers playing the Indiana Pacers in the second round. And you look, game one, you get 9 points out of this bum ass Tobias Harris, and we lose by 7. Game one of the Clippers, you get 22 points out of Paul George. So let's just do a nice little flip flop here. We win game one if we have Paul George instead of Tobias Harris. Now let's look at the real heartbreaker. Game two. We know this game was awful. We blew it so hard late. So you look at game two, another pitiful performance by Tobias Harris, giving you only 10 points, making 38 mil. Paul George gives you 22 in this game. So we would have won game two if we had Paul George on this squad, most likely. Then we go to game three, and we go to the game threes, and sorry, there we go. You look, Paul George, 7 points. Embiid had 50. He was leading the way for us. We would have still won this game, even though Paul George had a miserable game three. Game four would have won this one because this is Paul George's best game of the playoffs. He had, if I'm correct, 33 points, and we lost by 5 because bum-ass Tobias Harris gave you 10 points for $38 million. We would have won this game. So if you look at that, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that the Mavericks are not as intense defensively as the Knicks, but if you look at just the numbers, we would have swept the Knicks possibly if we had Paul George. And if you look, if we just scored, Paul George averaged 19 in the playoffs, Tobias Harris averaged 10. You just add 10 to like all of our scores, we would have swept the Knicks and won almost every game in that series. So it's like the only one we might not have won if we had Paul George was game 5, because Tobias Harris was actually decent, and his best game in the playoffs is 17 compared to Paul George's 33 and then his 22 points per game games as well. It's like, come on, this guy is leagues better than Tobias Harris. Although Paul George is the superstar that I'd want least on this team just because of how he tends to not play as well in the postseason, he can have his games in there. So, I mean, if it's bring Tobias back or get Paul George, it's get Paul George any day. And I would still be happy to have Paul George on this team if he's going to contribute and hustle on team. If he's going to bring defensive intensity, he would be probably our best defender since Ben Simmons, like one-on-one defender. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. This is really like, I looked at this and it's really improved my opinion on signing Paul George. I would like to still get guys like Kelly Oubre back. We can't just be top heavy again. We need some role players to go with it. So whether that's Daryl Morey doing something in the draft, getting a good guy there, or doing something with that draft pick, or re-signing Kelly Oubre or some of the guys on our team, we need some of these guys back. But yeah, I'm just a yapper who don't know ball. Peace out, y'all.